Now, we take Manasa's principle, Adha. Okay, so Adha refers to grounding into the present. And in fact, today's concept, we can take it as pure grounding first, just ground. And we put this concept into our practice. Okay, so our yoga practice is basically grounded in asana practice. Okay, so whatever philosophy I've been teaching you or I'm continuing to teach you, I always try to encode the principles of the teachings into the sequences of the asanas. And it is through the means of the asanas that I really try to embody the teachings. So asana is really a grounding place. It's a place to ground the teachings. It's a place to really connect. So asana truly is the, in one sense, the Adha. At any point of time also, if you are mentally caught up, Adha principle is come back to the body. How is the body? How is the posture? So body and the asana and awareness of it is truly our Adha practice, grounding practice. Now, when you really now do a grounding practice into asana itself, so asana, the first layer grounding is asana. Now you try to look into asana. Okay, what is the ground of asana? Okay, so when you look like that, the ground of asana, you will find that you will end up in Hatha Yoga land. That is the ground of asana. Okay, and when you look into that ground is formed by teachings from various scriptures of Hatha Yoga. So they are Hatha Yoga Pradipika, Shiva Samhita, Yajnavalkya Samhita, Garanta Samhita. There are a few great teachers and few great texts which forms, they are all there on the ground of Hatha Yoga. So asana is really grounded in Hatha Yoga. This much I think everybody is okay. Everybody knows. Asana practice, so it's a Hatha Yoga practice. Now, when you look into putting the Adha concept into Hatha Yoga, what is the ground of Hatha Yoga? Just now I said all the scriptures, okay, that is the ground. But when you look into the roots, from where did these scriptures come out from? These scriptures of Hatha Yoga, etc., were formed around 13th century. Okay, so that we are talking not so long back. The practices of yoga is supposed to be existing for such a long time, and this we are talking only around 700 years, 800 years back. Okay, so what is before that? What is the Adha or the ground of this practice? Hatha Yoga. And that's where problems start to develop. Okay, we don't know the ground. And what happens in the current context, like what do we say when somebody is interested in yoga philosophy? For example, we say, well, I practice yoga and I'm really interested in the philosophy. What is the philosophy of yoga most people know? They will talk about Patanjali's Yama Niyama, and also they will say, I know about the 5 koshas, I know about the 3 shariras. These two are two philosophies which is really dominating the scene of philosophy nowadays, okay, in terms of yoga practice. But if you deeply look into Hatha Yoga Pradipika, that ground text for us, that author, who is called Swatmarama, makes it very clear. I think in the 3rd verse itself, he puts a list of his teachers. And that's a big list of lot of teachers. Okay, so he's writing in the 13th century, and he puts a long list of teachers. And it can't be that all these teachers actually taught him physically. He's putting down a lineage of teachers, which will extend back a long way. And so he talks about Matsyendranath, he talks about Goraknath, he talks about Kapali, he talks about Ananda Bhairava. There are so many of these teachers, and he makes it clear what is the source of Hatha Yoga. Okay? Now, what you have to note here is 2 points. First is, Swatmarama is not shy of saying who his teachers are. Okay? So he's bigger than that. He's really giving credit to a huge list of teachers. Okay? And second thing you have to notice is, in this exhaustive list, Patanjali's name is not there. Okay? Second is, another giant who is Shankaracharya of Vedanta, his name is also not there. These 2 giants who dominates today's philosophy of yoga is absolutely not mentioned by the author of Hatha Yoga in his salutation verse, where he acknowledges all possible teachers. The others who are following Patanjali philosophy, what does Patanjali say? You want to, for liberation, you have to get out of the body. Liberation or enlightenment is like a bird getting out of a cage. They say you have to be free from body. So that's why, like many famous teachers, they say that asana is not at all the important thing. Just now down there was a yoga journal. I just took the back page. A very famous teacher, I forgot the name. So he's saying, asana is not the main thing. You have to meditate to feel the soul within. That is clearly Patanjali yoga philosophy. Okay, where you're constantly putting body down, asana down, and whoever puts asana down immediately gets a halo that he or she is spiritual. Okay, so this is the very sad ground which we have right now. Okay, the ground of Hatha Yoga, which is not Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, which is not Shankara's Vedanta, but right now we are clinging on there. Okay, so that's what I want to address today. So partly this gross oversight is due to one confusing verse which Swatmarama himself put in the opening verse of Hatha Yoga Pradipika. He writes that his scripture, his teaching of Hatha Yoga is for people to scale the heights of Raja Yoga. Okay? That one statement has been interpreted as to say that is an abject confession by the author of Hatha Yoga itself. He is saying that this is a preparatory practice to somehow rise up to and then start Raja Yoga. So this is like a preparatory practice. It's like a ladder to step into the hallowed hall of Raja Yoga, which is that Patanjali tradition. So that is a common understanding, but to understand what is Raja Yoga as meant by Swatmarama, we only have to study this particular scripture, Hatha Yoga Pradipika. He will clearly explain in the 4th chapter, he will clearly explain what he means by Raja Yoga. He says that Raja Yoga is just another word he is using for Samadhi, for Manonmani, for Laya. It's just like a generic term he's using for all these absorptions. Okay? It's not as a part of practice. Raja Yoga, in one sense, refers to Ashtanga Yoga of Patanjali as a part of practice. But Swatmarama makes it very clear. He says that he's not referring to a path, he's referring to a state. And this state is called by other names such as Samadhi, such as Laya, such as Manon. He makes it very clear. He's not referring Raja Yoga as another system. He just means it to be that deep absorption. Okay? And this absorption, then he goes on to say that this occurs, the state of Raja Yoga occurs when you can pierce the blocks in your Sushumna. The state of Raja Yoga occurs when you can pierce the blocks in your Sushumna. He makes it very clear what he means by Raja Yoga. He says that a practitioner goes through 4 stages. First stage is called the Arambha Avastha, meaning the entry point, the beginner stage. But the beginner stage, he is referring to quite an advanced stage. He is saying the beginning of entry into this Sushumna, into this subtle energy channel. And he says the beginning stage is when you pierce Mooladhara, blocks occurring in Mooladhara chakra, you get a release from it. Okay, you release that solid binding materiality, and you get a release from it. That's a piercing of the Mooladhara, and that is the beginning stage. And then he says is Gata Avastha. That is the state of the vessel, the empty pot. And that when you break the block in your heart. He says that Vishnu Granthi. Granthi means a block. Okay, the root one is called Brahma Granthi. This is called Vishnu Granthi, where Sushumna, the energy rises up and you breaks open all blockages in your heart. Okay, you break that open. And then you experience the state of the Vishuddhi, which is the 3rd stage, which is called Parichaya Avastha, which is like seasoned practitioner, where you are at a level of bliss, no matter what is happening. Okay, that's a seasoned practitioner. And then finally he says the Raja Yoga level is when you pierce the Rudra Grandhi, that is the third eye block. Okay, so in the path of Sushumna there are these blocks, 3 main blocks. The breaking of that is the practice of Hatha Yoga. And when this Rudra Grandhi, which is the third eye block, when that gets broken, that is the stage of Raja Yoga or Samadhi according to Swatmarama. Subtle body philosophy belongs to Tantric tradition. Okay, so this is where you know where our ground is. They had a lot of bizarre practices. Tantra. Tantra is very big. If you ask me what is Tantra, I can't answer you straight away. I will only tell you what I am picking up from Tantra, which we are following. That is Tantra for me. But Tantra is very big and they have very, very funny practices too. So at some point of time, maybe the yoga practitioners do not want to say that our background, our foundation is Tantra. Because the moment you say that, people think you're a bit funny person. You know, you are immoral, you can do anything, anytime. And so people started to get more into the decent, so as to say. Patanjali and the Vedantic teachings are really like noble in a way. So, I mean, these are things, this is me talking now. Why Tantra, suddenly the ground of Hatha Yoga was just dissolved. I mean, we just decided to put another layer over that ground. Patanjali and Shankara's Vedanta as Hatha Yoga's philosophy. Let me tell you, there is nothing wrong in these great philosophies. I also teach you that all the time. But that is additional philosophy to help us. We bring them all together. You know, we would like to be embraced by all these philosophies. But you have to clearly know, when we say Hatha Yoga, really we are tired of people saying Hatha Yoga is a physical. Hatha Yoga is a preparatory practice for getting real liberation. You have to do Patanjali's path, or you have to get into Vedanta path. What do? Stand on your head. Really tiring. So at least from now on, at least our group of teachers should be very clear. Hatha Yoga is not meant for some physical thing. It's got 4 chapters, Hatha Yoga Pradipika. First chapter is on asanas. That's only 67 verses. The last chapter is Samadhi, which has got 114 verses. Almost double that of Patanjali Samadhi Pada. So the Hatha Yoga tradition is also totally looking at Samadhi. They are saying this whole book, this whole scripture is for scaling the heights of Raja Yoga. What they are saying is, he is providing you a systematic way by which you can scale into the height, and the ladder through which the Sushumna can be scaled. You go through the Muladhara, you go to break the Vishnu Grandhi, you break the Rudra Grandhi, you are liberated. Okay, so that is very, very, very clear as to what he means by Raja Yoga. I think his verse somewhere in the 70 range, he clearly says, Eki Bhudam, meaning only one element, Tat Chittam. The Chitta gets really connected to Eki Bhudam. Previous verse he's saying is, when you break the third eye block, and then you're really settled into that kind of consciousness, Eki Bhudam, that is called Raja Yoga Abhidanagam. He clearly says that state is Raja Yoga. Okay, so this is what I wanted to tell you in the first place. Knowing that the ground which is held as our philosophical ground is not really the philosophical ground of Hatha Yoga, though it's great to study from it, and our real ground is Tantra.